Say some things, and then I'm going to give you some information about what to expect about the process here tonight. First thing I'm going to say again is on my behalf and on behalf of City Council, we apologize to Mr. Rush for his experience with city police officers this summer. And I expect to reach out to Mr. Rush personally beyond a written apology. I have requested to get a copy of his, or get his phone number, and I haven't gotten that as of the end of today, but I assume I will get that pretty soon. So in terms of a couple of announcements, one is that concerning the APD excessive use of force incident that we're going to be discussing in closed session regarding personnel matters, I would like to make people aware that there is a hotline. We have it up on the screen right there for anyone to call, and they can leave a message as long as they want it to be. And that information will be gathered and provided to our CPAC committee, our Citizens Police Advisory Committee, which is also, you've got some information up there. They're going to be meeting this Wednesday at 6:30 at the Wesley Grant Center. That is going to be a meeting that's open to everyone. I think many of the folks on City Council will be in attendance at that meeting, even though we don't sit on that committee. That will be an opportunity for people to come and speak. In addition, I want you to be aware that today the city attorney filed a lawsuit on behalf of the City Council seeking to make public any additional videos of the incident involving Mr. Rush. There are other videos from a camera, cameras worn, body cameras worn by officers, and under the state law, we cannot, this council can't view them, and we cannot make them public unless we get a court order. So that lawsuit was filed this afternoon. And now we're going to have a closed session motion, and Councilwoman Smith is going to make the motion. The purpose of the closed session is to enable the City Council to make public personnel matters that until this point we have not been able to, and the staff has not been able to. There's a statutory process we can use, though, under circumstances like this, to make this information public. Immediately following the closed session, the city manager will make a statement and provide everyone with a copy of a memo which gives a very detailed timeline of events concerning this matter. And it will be more information than you've received so far, and hopefully address a lot of questions we've heard in the community in terms of what the response was on the part of the city, what actions were taken, and when. We are not taking public comment tonight, and I only see members of the press here anyway, so but we will again be in attendance, most of us I believe, at the CPAC meeting, so we will be able to hear directly from folks in our community. This council will be taking further action on this matter. This is the first step in the process. So with that, I'm going to ask Councilwoman Smith to make the closed session motion. We will adjourn from the closed session, but please stay around to receive the further information we're going to be able to provide to you tonight. And I should say, the information we're providing to you is in writing, and it will be made available on the city's website.
I move that the Asheville City Council go into closed session for the following reasons: to consider the qualifications, competence, performance, character, fitness, and condition of appointment of an individual public officer or employee, or to hear or investigate a complaint, charge, or grievance by or against an individual public officer or employee. The statutory authorization is contained in North Carolina General Statute 143 through 318, 11A6, and to prevent the disclosure of information that is confidential pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 160A through 168, the Personnel Privacy Act. The statutory authorization is contained in North Carolina General Statute 143 through 318, 11A1. To consult with an attorney employed by the city about matters with respect to which the attorney-client privilege between the city and its attorney must be preserved. The statutory authorization is contained in North Carolina General Statute 143 through 318.11A3. To prevent the disclosure of information that is privileged or confidential pursuant to the law of this state or the United States, or not considered a public record within the meaning of Chapter 132 of the General Statutes. The statutory authorization is contained in North Carolina General Statute 143 through 318.11A1, and to plan, conduct, or hear reports concerning investigation of alleged criminal misconduct. The statutory authorization is contained in North Carolina General Statute 143 through 318.11A7.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right.
Your Honor, if the attorney could just clarify.
You're going to adjourn from closed session? Is that what you said? Okay, we were just, I think the manager had a question about whether...
We will come back in here, though, however, just for the purposes of you being able to read the statement and provide the information.
Okay. We'll be adjourned, but we're coming back.
Just
Okay.
not to conduct any business.
Okay, I'm here to share some information with the community and the media available tonight. The council has acted upon a resolution, and this is a resolution concurring in the city manager's release of personnel information. A resolution concurring in the city manager's release of personnel information. And we'll make the resolution available to you, but it essentially says that be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Asheville that pursuant to North Carolina statutes, the City Council hereby concurs with, agrees, and encourages the City Manager's release of certain personnel information contained in Exhibit A attached here too. Read and approved, adopted this 5th day of March 2018. And so I'm going to read directly from that Exhibit A. And so that you're prepared for this, it's 6 pages long with attachments, and it will be made available to you. It will be posted online, as well as a question and answer to help people understand the process as well. Okay, the subject of the memorandum to the City Council from the City Manager, Gary Jackson, a copy of the City Attorney, and the City Clerk. Subject, release of personnel information, North Carolina General Statute 160A-168C7. And it reads as follows. On February 28, 2018, the Asheville Citizen Times published body-worn camera footage recorded shortly after midnight on August 25, 2017, which showed an APD officer, Christopher Hickman, using excessive and dangerous force to arrest a man named Johnny Rush, who Hickman and an officer in training, Venero Ruggiero, had stopped near Biltmore Avenue. The use of force shown in the recordings is, understandably, a source of great anger and concern within the community. I am concerned that the public does not presently have access to all of the information necessary for it to judge the city's response to the officer's actions, and that absent that information, this matter will continue to negatively impact the community's perception of its police department and the way which city responds to misconduct by its employees. The City Council has also directed that all information about this matter that can lawfully be shared should be provided to the public immediately. It is therefore my conclusion, with council's agreement and support, that the following information concerning the matter provided to me by APD should be made available to the public. On August 25th, 2017, the Asheville Police Department, APD, received a complaint by Johnny Rush alleging that an APD officer used excessive force during his arrest that evening. That same day, upon reviewing the same body camera footage of the arrest that the public has now seen, Chief Hooper ordered that Hickman's law enforcement authority be suspended and that he be taken off the street and placed on administrative duty. Hickman was ordered to turn in his badge and gun and had no further interaction as a police officer with the public. Also that same day, Ruggiero, the trainee in the recording, was reassigned to a different training officer. Chief Hooper informed John Maddox from the city attorney's office about the incident on August 25th, 2017, and within days informed interim assistant city manager Jade Dundas as well. On September 15th, 2017, the APD took a copy of the recording to District Attorney Todd Williams for review. Upon reviewing the recording, Mr. Williams agreed with the APD that all charges then pending against Mr. Rush should be dismissed. A copy of the voluntary dismissal filed with the court is attached as Exhibit 1. At that time, Mr. Williams was informed that APD's Professional Standards Unit was conducting an administrative investigation into the matter. In addition to ordering an administrative investigation regarding Hickman's use of force against Mr. Rush, Chief Hooper also ordered a review of all available footage captured by Hickman's camera during all encounters with the public. This was a substantially more comprehensive review than is typically required by the APD's auditing process, whereby a supervisor reviews only a random sample of an officer's recording each month to ensure that they are following policy. This more comprehensive review of Hickman's recordings, which required personnel to review more than 58 hours of footage, revealed 4 other instances where Hickman displayed discourteous and rude conduct to members of the public, although no complaints had been filed related to those instances. The Professional Standards Unit, in turn, initiated an additional administrative case focused solely on whether Hickman's rude and discourteous behavior in those instances constituted a violation of APD's policies requiring that officers treat members of the public with respect and courtesy, and avoid further any action which might bring discredit on themselves or the department. The APD's new use of force, which went into effect on April of 2017, requires that a supervisor respond to every use of force by an APD officer and conduct a preliminary investigation. That preliminary investigation should include, at a minimum, obtaining or attempting to obtain a statement from the subject of the force or injury and all witnesses at the scene, and when applicable, photographing all areas of contact located on the subject to document the injuries or lack thereof. During the course of its investigation into whether Hickman had used excessive force, the APD's Professional Standards Unit learned that a supervisor responded to the scene that night to initiate a review of Hickman's use of force as required by APD policy. That supervisor, however, despite being told by Hickman that he struck Mr. Rush in the head with his taser, and despite Mr. Rush saying that he was choked, did not immediately forward any information or complete notes of those interviews with Hickman and Rush, and further did not review the body camera footage that night. Because of the conduct related to this incident, that supervisor ultimately received discipline for unsatisfactory performance and was ordered to undergo additional training. The administrative investigation into Hickman's arrest of Rush concluded that Hickman had engaged in excessive force in violation of APD policy, as well as unbecoming conduct and failing to meet the responsibilities of duty. The additional administrative investigation, which was initiated following a review of all other available body-worn camera footage recorded by Hickman, also concluded that Hickman had engaged in rude and discourteous behavior on 4 other occasions. Both administrative cases were complete and sent to the division commander for review on or about December 15th, 2017, followed by a deputy chief's review, which was complete on December 17th, 2017. After reviewing the administrative cases, Cooper ordered the professional standards unit to contact Hickman to schedule a pre-disciplinary conference, which is required by city policy. Hickman received notice of the pre-disciplinary conference on December 27th, and per standard procedure was placed on investigative suspension that same day. Hickman's pre-disciplinary conference with Chief Hooper took place on January 2nd, 2018. Following that pre-disciplinary conference, it was Chief Hooper's decision that Hickman's employment would be terminated. On January 5th, 2018, Chief Hooper met with Hickman to inform him of her decision to terminate his employment. However, at the beginning of that meeting, Hickman elected to resign before Chief Hooper provided Hickman with her written decision to terminate. A copy of the termination notice, which was drafted but not presented to Hickman, is attached as Exhibit 2. The APD's administrative investigation of Mr. Rush's complaint complied with all required steps and procedures set forth in APD and city policies governing allegations of employee conduct, including those policies which apply to claims of excessive force. Per APD policy, the department makes every effort to fully investigate all complaints within 60 days of reception of that complaint. More complex investigations handled by professional standards units may, and often do, require additional time beyond the 60 days to complete. The investigation of this matter, due to its complexity, took approximately 3.5 months to complete. Failure to follow the city's internal policies could result in a substantial risk, including reinstatement by the Civil Service Board if the officer is terminated. Prior to Hickman's resignation on December 19, 2017, Chief Hooper requested that District Attorney Williams review the recording a second time, together with an additional recording captured by another officer's camera, and provide an opinion about whether Hickman's conduct rose to the level of a criminal offense. After his review on January 10, 2018, Mr. Williams requested that APD ask the State Bureau of Investigation to initiate a criminal investigation as to whether Hickman had committed assault. A copy of District Attorney Williams' request of the APD is attached as Exhibit 3. On January 11, 2018, Chief Hooper sent the SBI a letter making this request. A copy of APD's letter to the SBI is attached as Exhibit 4. On January 12, 2018, the SBI wrote the APD an email stating in part that, quote, "The SBI is going to respectfully decline the request based on the completion of your 4-month internal investigation, which has led to the resignation of Officer Hickman," end quote. A complete copy of the SBI's email is attached as Exhibit 5. Following the SBI's refusal to investigate, Mr. Williams then requested that the APD conduct the criminal investigation instead. By law, information gained through an administrative investigation cannot be used to prosecute someone for a criminal violation. For that reason, on January 18, 2018, Chief Hooper assigned the criminal case to a detective in APD's Criminal Investigation Division to conduct a separate inquiry that could be used to charge Hickman with a criminal offense if the district attorney so choose. That investigation is now nearly complete. Barring any unexpected developments, the APD expects to submit the case to District Attorney within the next week to determine whether Hickman should be criminally prosecuted, which is the District Attorney's decision. The community deserves to know that the city takes Hickman's misconduct seriously, and that APD employees who engage in excessive force will be held accountable. For that reason, per NC General Statute 160A-168C7, I've determined that the release of the information contained in this document is essential to maintaining public confidence in the administrative services of the city, and requested that the City Council concur in this decision. This fully accords with the strong direction I have received from the Council that in all matters, especially those involving police, the city should be transparent as possible to its citizens. The City Council's concurrence includes that if I determine at a later date that the release of additional information is necessary to clarify or explain the reason for any personnel action described in this document, since such information may be released pursuant to this written determination without further council action. And that concludes the statement, the release of the personnel information. And I have for you copies of that release and the 4 attachments. That 5 attachments, exhibits, and so that concludes my release of what I'm able to provide with you at this time. This is the extent of the information that I can share with you at this time. This is the extent of the information I can provide to you at this time that it's been authorized to give to you at this time. This is the extent of the information I can release to you at this time. I think it's quite comprehensive. I would encourage you to give it full consideration.
Is this also available online?
Yes, it's available online.